Hello, friends. Welcome aboard the Round Trip Stories podcast, where we share stories of moving around the world and back again, reflecting on the lessons we've learned along the way. My name is Tracy.
And my name is Melissa, and we are so glad you're joining us for today's episode. Our guest today is Maïa Talabard, a third culture kid from France who is a university business school student, artist, cheerleader, and travel lover. During her childhood, she spent 3 years in Korea and 3 years in China before she returned to France for high school. Maïa shares with us about the freedom, adventure, pollution, and connections she made during her time in Asia as a TCK. So buckle your seatbelts and make sure your tray tables and seats are in their upright positions as part one of Maïa's round trip story gets ready for takeoff.
Well, we have a very special guest today. This is Maïa Talabard from France. And I met Maïa when she was in upper elementary school. And we have invited her to be a guest here on our series of third culture kids, so TCKs, who spend a portion of their lives growing up outside their home country. So I met Maïa because I worked at the international school where she attended in Wuhan, China. And I got to know her family, and I love her family. And now she's back in France. So Maïa, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, I'm so happy to do this podcast with you. It's such a great opportunity, and I'm really, really happy about it. So yeah, can't wait.
Well, we are looking forward to getting to hear your stories. And it's always so good to learn from other people and hear their experiences around the world. So as we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and your life now, and then tell us about your family and where you grew up.
So currently I live in Lille. So it's in the north of France, really up top in the north. And so it's just like an hour away from Paris by train, where my family lives and where I've lived my whole life when I lived in France. So I'm in Lille right now alone. Well, no, actually with my brother, but we don't live in the same household.
Got it. Yeah.
But we live here for our studies because I'm studying international marketing in a business school,
Nice.
like a French business school, which is called EDEC. And so that's where I am right now. So my family is in near Paris. It's called Manille-les-Hameaux, so it's kind of a long name. It's just in the suburbs of Paris. So I've always lived in the same house when we came back from every travels we did abroad. So we're four. There's my parents, and then there's my little brother, whose name is Diego, and he's 2 years younger than me. And so, yeah, that's it. And my parents are Claire and Gaël, which are the people that Tracy mentioned earlier.
Yes. Okay. Tell us then, when and where did you live abroad?
So I've lived in France since 2003 when I was born until about my 6 years old. I was 6 years old because I moved to Korea in 2009. I stayed there for 3 years until about 2012. And when I came back to France, I only stayed 1 year there, from 2012 to 2013. And then I moved back and I went to China, Wuhan, more specifically, where I stayed 3 years also. So until 2016. And then I came back to France, and I've lived in France ever since. But just only last semester of, so the second semester of 2023, I went back to Seoul in Korea, where I lived before, for my studies as a study abroad program.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was almost going back to my sort of roots of when I was a kid, with a different view, and it was amazing, such a great experience. So yeah, that's about all of it.
And I assume that when you moved to Korea and when you moved to China, that was with your family.
Yeah, of course, with my family.
And what were your parents doing that took them abroad?
So my dad, he's an engineer at Renault, a French car company, and he was responsible of developing projects, I think maybe joint ventures in the respectful countries. So that's why we were sent there, and we just all went.
Okay, Maïa. Well, now we will listen to your stories about your time outside of France. So tell us a story about growing up abroad as a third culture kid.
Well, living abroad as a third culture kid, I always had the almost overwhelming feeling that I had about like 5 lives and 5 ways to evolve and have different cultures. So when I lived in Korea, I was really small, but actually Korea is a very, very, very safe country. You can really wander the streets no matter your age and you will be safe. So that's a really, really good point about it. And so when I was there, I was in a French international school. So the classes on Wednesday always ended before lunchtime. So at lunchtime, because that's how it works in the French scheduling. So every Wednesday at lunchtime, me and my friends or my brother would run down the streets from our school all the way down the streets to this restaurant that we call Chez Papi, which means like Papi's place, kind of, or grandpa's place. Because it had the best tonkatsu. I don't know if you know the food. It's like a fried pork cutlet with a rice and like a dark sauce. It's so good. And so we would run down to that place because it has like about 6 tables. So it was a really, really small place. So we really wanted to get like the spots. And that's kind of a ritual we had. We didn't do it every week, but a lot because it's really a fond memory for me. And that's
fun.
So how old were you and how old was your brother and your friends when you were running down the street from the school to a restaurant by yourself?
Well, when I arrived in Korea, I was 6. So between 6 and 8. And my brother was 2 years younger, but I think I did it mostly with my friends that were the same age as me. So really little for that kind of stuff, but it was 100% safe and no one had any second thoughts about it. Like it was just a normal thing to do. And it was so nice thinking back to have just that freedom as a kid.
Yeah. I cannot imagine anywhere here in Fresno where people would not be confused to see 8-year-olds going to a restaurant by themselves.
In France either, that would just not be imaginable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is unique to that country, yeah.
We know that living abroad isn't always all roses. So tell us something that was hard growing up outside of France and in China and Korea.
Well, I think that actually my experiences abroad just in general were amazing. And I think that my parents played a huge role in that. I don't think I had this big of hardships, but there was one thing though, in China specifically, that I kind of had trouble with was pollution. So we were in Wuhan, which was at the time a city in development with a lot of constructions everywhere and just traffic all over, bumps in the roads, just crazy. Sometimes there was this huge fog outside, but it was only pollution. We saw maybe 5 blue skies a year. So it was something that I think really struck me, that it was very, very different from France and I could feel it. And I think that I got some long-term effect of that because My brother kind of developed asthma during that period because of pollution. And I feel like I always had this feeling in my chest, and I have always a runny nose because of the pollution. So it's something that has affected me, it has affected my health. And it was something that I had never dealt with before. And I could really, really, that was something that was not that fun to deal with.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, and there's like different adaptations. I know the school had to have air filters in every classroom, and sometimes we wore masks. Yeah.
Yeah, and also in our homes, we had air purifiers in our homes, in every rooms, because it was something that was just normal.
And who was it that was? Oh, was it Melinda that when we interviewed Melinda talked about when her kids moved back, they would ask whether or not they could go outside because they were looking at the weather app, thinking that they needed to check the pollution levels before they
Air quality index. Yeah.
Yeah. So was that something also that you guys had to pay attention to, Maïa? Do you remember?
I remember that in China, every morning before going out to school, we would check the app of the air quality level. It's something that we would do every day, but I knew that in France it was not something that was existing. I remember that actually I had a really crazy comparison that in France, in Paris, when the scale goes up to 100, they have to close factories and ask cars to, people to stay at home and use their car as much as possible. And they take action. While in China, a day with 100 of air quality was a good day. In China, at 300 on the scale, we would stop having PE lessons. And at 300, 400, we would wear masks, and 500 was the maximum. So it was crazy because we did reach that maximum, and it's such a striking difference to France where the expectations are so different. So I knew coming back to France that I would never have to worry about it because it's something that was very far from me. Yeah, but that is crazy.
Yep. That's a tough issue.
Yeah, because I love blue skies. I love when it's a good weather. I love a sunny day.
Yeah.
I think that coming back, this was one of my favorite things, having like blue days.
All right, Maïa. Well, now tell us something you loved. Tell us a story about something you loved about growing up overseas.
So one thing I loved and I think was one of the best advantages, whether it was in Korea or China, was the traveling. Because living in Asia, you just have that possibility to go elsewhere in places that are close to what you imagine on postcards or what seems like paradisiacal islands. That I got to see a lot, and I feel really, really grateful about it because it was something that was so much more accessible from us living in Asia. And so that's something I loved. And I think that, I had so many amazing trips. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you which one I preferred because there were so many great ones with all different, like, each one had almost a different purpose. Like some were more for discovering the countries and others for relaxing. Like our very last trip all together in Asia was Thailand. We did Koh Phi Phi, and it was so gorgeous with the white sand and the beautiful seas, and it was such a moment of relaxation where I realized, whoa, okay, it is the end. Like this is the last time I'll come back until a very long time. And I was very, very nostalgic about that during that trip, but I don't think I voiced it that much, but I really, really felt like I didn't want to leave because I knew it would be the end. And I think that it's kind of a bittersweet feeling because I was just so happy to have lived this and was so happy to be there, but at the same time, I was so sad to leave. But so to me, this is a fond memory. Yeah.
So did you get to take international trips with classmates, like as part of your school, or did you do most of that traveling with your family?
With my family only.
Okay. Because I know of my nephews that went to an international school in Thailand. They were able to take some international trips with their school, like with sports teams or things, and that it's like, wow, that seems like such a wild, amazing thing to be able to do. But traveling with your family is so special and sweet, and that you get to have those experiences together. I think traveling with your family and doing things, exploring and visiting unique places, those end up being really precious memories and experiences that are so good for families.
Yeah, I'll never get tired of traveling with my family.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, such good memories. And those are memories that just your family shares, right? Just that unit.
I'm so grateful to have lived this.
Do you remember when you realized that you were a TCK, a third culture kid?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that.
So I think that I remembered that, I think that I realized that mostly when I came back from China, because I knew it was the last time I would go out and it would be the last time I had to readapt to France. And when I came back, I was kind of grown up in middle school. And I really, really felt the difference because in my environment, where I lived in my middle school and in my high school, I was one of the only kids to have lived that. I was one of the only kids to have lived so long abroad and having that experience. And it's something that nobody really shared and that nobody could really relate to. I used to mention it to my friends that I made when I arrived, but actually, as time went on, it's something that I stopped mentioning because it never really came up, because it's not something that people thought to ask about people because it was not the place. And so I really realized that I was a third culture kid when one time I had this friend who knew. I talked to her about, oh yeah, I remember, like, this reminds me of that in China. And I had another friend listening that was like, wait, when were you in China? And I was, well, I lived there for 3 years. And he was shocked and he was, whoa, I had no idea about that. And it just made me realize how unique that experience is and how it's something that a lot of people don't have, and about the fact that it is something that is apart from a lot of things. And that's when I realized that it was that I had many cultures, because I had that openness and I had that view that was really different.
Yeah. So tell us a story about a time that you went back to visit. So maybe another time when you went back to visit France.
Well, so when we came back during our years abroad, most of the time it was for the summer. And for us, summer vacation equaled to our grandparents' house near Lyon, which is in the kind of middle south of France. And so to us, it would be the signification of vacation, of holidays. And I would just remember being so eager to just get on the plane and go see my grandparents and going back to that delicious food of France. Because even if I love the food in Korea and kind of liked it in China, even if it wasn't my favorite, I mean, coming back to France was just so amazing just to have, because my grandparents are actually really, really good cooks. So it's something that I was always so excited to come back to. And they would actually ask us, what do you want us to make you when you come back? So we can prepare the meals.
Like good grandparents.
Yeah, they knew that it was something that we were really anticipating. So I think that's a really, really nice memory for me. And I think even today, going to my grandparents' house to meet always feels like holiday, always feels like vacation, because it's the place we always would come back to during our years abroad. And even right now, living in Lille, when I go back there, for me, it's just vacation. So yeah.
Yeah. And have your grandparents lived in the same house all your life?
Yes, actually.
So that's probably a really special
Yes.
place that with moving around, like that's a stable place that you were always able to go back to. And so I'm sure that was really special too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I remember asking one of my sons about like what is his favorite place to come back to in the United States. And he says, Tia Ale's house, so his aunt's house. So we'd always go back there. And her house is filled with a lot of love. But for him, that was the anchor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because when we would come back, we didn't come back to the same home. We would like rent a place or stay with somebody or or we had a home, but we were renting it out. And so one year we were in between renters, and so the home was open. So we actually got to stay in our old home where our kids were born. So that was nice. But that's a tough thing about living overseas if you don't maintain your home, coming back, and where are you going to stay? So, but those relatives' homes are so important, and they're such important anchors to our kids and us.
Anchors is just the right word for it. It's like that stability that reminds you of your life in that passport country.
So you talked a little bit about the openness and, the different perspective that growing up, living in different places gave you. So tell us, what do you value the most about your story growing up in different places and how that's affected you?
Well, I think that what I value the most to me would be, like I said, the open-mindedness that it got me, because I got to learn about so many different cultures that are so different from mine, which is a unique experience and which is something that I always loved and that I always will love. And it's gotten me also that open-mindedness about food culture, which is so important to me because I love so many foods from all over the world. And right now, I just enjoy trying new things. And even when I went back, so last semester, for my exchange, I went to Vietnam, where I went before, but I actually tried new foods that I haven't tasted before, and I was so excited to try them, and they were so good. I tried pho and banh mi, which I hadn't tried before, and it was amazing. And so it's something that I always look forward to, and it's something that I'm sure I got from living abroad, because that's something that if I had lived all my life in France, I probably wouldn't have had that same want of discovering new cultures and foods.
Yeah.
I think that kiddos like you who are used to eating different food in different countries, you're not very picky. Sometimes people complain, oh, my kid won't eat vegetables. I'm like, well, I mean, we grew up in China and they just have yummy vegetables, just like great sauces
And my kids like green beans because of it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got used to maybe some things that tasted worse. So we're just, I think, maybe more open to trying, at least.
Sure.
It's so good to try things. You've talked about your brother, and I'm curious about if your brother had a similar experience and you find that he has these similar characteristics of, like you, being as open-minded and really appreciating other cultures. And so what do you think?
I think yes. I think that we lived it. Well, he was a bit younger than I was, but I think that he still had the same experience as I did. And we both have the same passion for food, that's for sure. It's a family thing. But yeah, I think that we have about the same experience, and even in wanting to having more experience, more traveling, more all of that, and just being open about other cultures. That's something that we both grew up with. So it's something that we definitely both have. Like Diego, I think, is a bit like me on that subject. Yeah.
So would you say that you and your brother have a closer relationship than maybe a typical brothers and sisters that you know that have not had an international, experience like this? Because I feel like that moving abroad and back is something that can really bring siblings together because they have to depend on each other and be friends with each other more maybe than a lot of other kids do. So I don't know, how that's affected your relationship.
Well, actually, me and my brother are really close as of right now. And I think our relationship really evolved around the years. And since we were really, really small when we moved, I think that we were friends, like you said, but maybe we didn't have that close of a relationship because we were always in kind of different age groups. For example, when I moved to Korea, he was in kindergarten and I was in elementary. And when I moved to China, I was in most of the time in middle school and he was in elementary. So we always kind of had that difference. But after that, I think we really got closer with the pandemic and with also getting closer in age and him moving to the same city as I am right now. We are really close as of right now. And actually, the subject of having lived abroad, I think, comes up quite a lot in our discussions, in the sense that we sometimes just realize that it was a crazy thing to do. It was a crazy experience. And sometimes it just hits us because it's something that we tend to forget because, as I said, it's like almost other lives that we had. It's almost as if it's different lives that we lived. So yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You can always talk to your brother about China. You can always talk to your brother about Korea.
I will always understand each other.
Thank you, Maïa, for sharing your TCK round-trip stories from Korea and China. You reflect on the advantages of growing up in Asia, where you had freedoms which you would not have had in France. From being an elementary school student running down the street to buy your after-school snack in Korea, or the ease of exploring many places in Asia from your home base in China, these are memories that you treasure in your heart and mind. Although there were discomforts like high levels of pollution, which affected your family's health, your nuclear family bond grew all the stronger because of your unique time together in Asia. So what happened when Maïa returned to France? You'll have to make a return trip to our podcast for part 2 of Maïa's round-trip story to find out.
Want the podcast equivalent of early boarding and first-class seating? Be sure to subscribe to the Round Trip Stories podcast in your favorite podcast app and sign up for our email list at roundtripstories.com so you'll never miss an episode. We believe that sharing stories helps our understanding of the world grow larger while the distance between us grows smaller.
As this episode lands, we hope these stories have encouraged you, helped you find some more of your belongings, and made your baggage a little lighter.
Thanks so much for listening, friends. We'll see you next time.